Okay, so a bit of background myself. I am a certified financial planner. I'm a chartered financial consultant. I'm also an associate estate planning practitioner. I didn't come into the so endowment and annuities. What is the difference, or how are they the same, right? Sometimes people kind of like, also is an annuity and endowment too, or is endowment and annuity too? What are the characteristics that distinguish them? Okay, I'll just bring out the most obvious one. Endowment, as most of us would know it, it could be a lump sum that you put in or over a period of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And then there is a waiting period after which you get a lump sum payout. That's a typical endowment. Annuity, on the other hand, at the end of the period that you put in money, waiting period, at the end of that period, instead of getting a whole lump sum, what you get is a monthly or annual income. Emin started by saying that it's very sad to hear how people have been scammed of their hard-earned money, right? Of their monies in bank. And the truth of the matter is there are more people scammed than we realize. The OCBC case being the recent and most massive one, they were fortunate that people got their monies paid back, but not everyone is so fortunate. In fact, just last week, I had an ex-schoolmate text me and say, is there something that can earn more than 0.2% per annum interest that I can park money into for my aunt? And the best thing is give her either income monthly basis or once every 2 years. Why? The aunt just got scammed again. So when monies are in our hands, sometimes we don't know what we are subjecting ourselves to. So here it provides a way of discipline and locking up really for future use. So at the end of a tenure, at the end of a period, endowment pays out, whereas annuities, it will start paying out to us little by little, slowly but surely, over a predetermined period of time. It could be between, for most people, in terms of planning for retirement, it'll be age 60 to 80, age 65 to 85, so on and so forth. And that's really an individual preference. Okay. So the right question is not what's the yield, but really, how can it stretch my dollar? Because ultimately, we are looking for three things. We want stability. When we talk about planning for a future when we are going to stop work, or work is going to come down, employment is going to decline, what we want is stability, and stability in something that is tested and proven. Okay. What we also want is predictability, because the last thing I need when I have no active income or little active income is that you tell me that, oh, next month, because market is down, I have no income. Now those of you who are actively investing, now is a great time in that way to start inching in and slowly investing. In fact, the last 2 years have been good, particularly good for that. But imagine if all your savings were invested and you didn't have Emin's style of breaking things up. Now to draw down is very painful, right? So we want something that's predictable for us down the road, so that you can count on it to pay off for your basic expenses and keep life going without stress. So the final thing is, then we all want certainty. I want to know that at the end of the day, this portion is guaranteed to me. Yeah, I may have some upside here, but really what is guaranteed? And then in terms of what's not guaranteed, what is realistic for me to expect? Because then that gives me certainty in planning for the future. So stability, predictability, and certainty, it's really, I think at the end of the day, what we are looking for when we are thinking endowment, annuities, things that have a more, are surer in terms of providing for our basic running costs. Okay, and as Emin rightly put it, it becomes a forced savings, right? And without you realizing, just like how we would look at property as a forced savings, property as an investment class is a forced savings, because even with the mortgage you're paying, it's forced savings. Ultimately, when you sell it, or in this case, when your plan matures, there is a payout. So the big question is not how fast am I growing my money. I want to, bring you this perspective. Is how sure am I growing my money? Because ultimately, that's what we are after, that I can come to a place where financial freedom is not about sitting around doing nothing or just being by the beach. I spent 6 hours in the beach this morning with a few friends, some of whom are here. But it's about being sure that when I will have the finances there to take care of my expenses, such that I can do the thing that I can spend time on the things that are needed or that I want to prioritize at a given time and not be burdened about my financial situation. Okay, which means we do need to plan for it. It's not how fast am I growing my money, but how sure am I growing my money. So surely 100% putting money in the bank is not going to help us very much. We need to think about how do I apportion different monies in different pots with different timelines. Okay, so from here on, I'm going to give you some illustrations and you're going to see quite a bit of numbers. But those of you who are not like super excited about numbers, just follow what I say. Hopefully it comes across clear enough. And to Emin's point, none of this is a recommendation. It's to give you a flavor of what it could look like. Okay, and this is not based on multiple comparison or anything. I just pulled out one provider's tools and then to pull out the relevant section to illustrate to you. This is a classic case of an endowment where the individual sets aside $9,000 a year for 10 years consecutively. At the end of the 10 years, $72,000 is saved in this endowment. And then the person has to wait another 5 years, at the end of which there is a maturity value. Okay, now those of you who are looking at this table, can you type for me the maturity value that you see under the 4.25% investment return? Okay. Now in this case, it's an illustration of someone at 45, and I would say annuity-like because the traditional annuity that we know, if we are strict about the definition, is that it pays for a lifetime. There are quite many providers in Singapore that does that, but most people would not choose that because it will cost you a lot more to make sure it runs for your lifetime, right? Which in most cases will run to 99. Average lifespan is about 85, so most people will plan 60 to 80, 65 to 85, or even 70 to 85 like that. So I say it is annuity-like, okay, because there is an endpoint after which you do not receive money. This case is someone at 45, annually set aside 16,700 with a target age of retiring at 60, receiving a guaranteed monthly income of 1,000 for 15 years. That means from 60 to 75. Okay, all these numbers are just illustration, right? Depending on what your scenario is, all these would change. What can the person expect to get? After setting aside for 10 years of this 16,739, 5 years, 167, sorry, 10 years, 16739, guaranteed 1,000. Remember again, there's non-guaranteed because they will declare bonuses, at the end of which the person could expect anything between say 1,003 to 1,006 plus. Could it be more? Possible. Could it be less? Possible. Less only if consistently throughout the 15 years, the provider declared less than 3% of the investment rate of return. And above 4.25 if the provider consistently declared more than 4.25% of that investment return. So more likely than not, it will be somewhere in between. All right. Now, in this case, again, you see illustration between 3 and 4.25 because this is mandated by the Life Insurance Association of Singapore. All providers here can only illustrate at these two rates. Okay, so you see guaranteed plus non-guaranteed, the person easily would be drawing down 1,005-ish out of setting aside this forced savings. Okay. You will see additionally here, there is a last extreme right column, there's this loss of independence income. There are two particular providers in the whole of Singapore where they have this similar feature to supplement Elder Shield. Those of us who are older, we understand what it is or what is. Now, there are also cases where it's more like annuity where a person could receive lifetime income. And in this case, I gave an illustration of someone at age 55. So sometimes people do, kind of wake up to the idea of, okay, I'm really, really close to my retirement now, and I've got all these monies amassed here. It's not unusual that people have 500,000, 700K, 800K, even $1 million, slightly more, just sitting in the bank account doing nothing. They don't even put in fixed deposit, right? So I do meet individuals like that. And then when they come to their 50s, 55, when they slow down work, they start to realize that, okay, this is not helping me because now I'm slowing down work. I'm doing some consultancy work. It's paying me some money, but at some point I'm going to stop this. I need this to work harder for me. And also usually in their 50s, they may come to a point where they say, okay, I don't want to put so much at risk. What can I do with my money now rather than to put it in the stock market? Right? Sometimes some individuals go through that. Those who are savvy with it and very seasoned investor, they will continue to invest a part of their money. So in this case, this person sets aside $500,000. All right. From year 2, actually, the person can start drawing down a bit of income. So this income, as you see, it starts in the first 2 years a little small, and then from the fourth year onwards, it actually continues all the way to, well, in this case, lifetime plans in the market will go up to usually either 99 or 100 or 150. So Imin's very familiar with this, like he will ask, right, is there this thing called premium financing for leverage, right? And I'll explain what that leverage means. So it's a technical term. What premium financing means is instead of putting out $500,000 in premium, I only put up a portion. Okay, now you will see from the illustration just now, based on the $500,000, eventual income is between 12,000 to 18,000 a year, right? That's the income that you can expect. If I compute very simplistically, what's the yield on a per annum basis, I take 12,000 divided by 500K or 18,000 divided by 500K, it's 2.4, 3.6. So average about 3%. Okay, it's very simplistic now. I say simplistic, right? Because I'm just, using simple numbers to divide. Now, however, if I take a loan or if I loan, because this plan has cash value, and the so how do all these kind of play out? It's never one thing, but several things put together. What's different for different ones of us is we all have different numbers as to what makes up our monthly, fixed running costs. Right? Let's put aside luxury first. Let's build something that can pay for our running costs first. For some of us, it's 2,000. Some of us is 3. Some of us is 4. And between Imin and I, as we were discussing, we think that 4. I think for most people, comfortably 3-4K is thereabouts. So I've built this illustration on that basis. So how do all these stack up? Assuming an individual is 45 today, by the time you turn 65, actually that's where CPF life pays out. Okay, so this is on the assumption that the individual actually opts for the full retirement sum. Okay, so those of you who turn 55 this year, you will need to have 192,000 in your special account or a mix of your OA and SA to form the retirement account and make up this full retirement sum of 192,000. Those of us who are younger, every year this 192,000 increases by 3.5%. Okay, so you can compute that, just compound it by 3.5% every year. That's your amount for the full retirement sum. So it generates roughly about 1,005. Okay, every year this number changes a little because it factors in for the inflation, right? And then on top of that, if you have been actively investing, you find that over the next 10 years, you could have amassed quite some that you're able to then draw down little by little. Or in Imin's case, he has already built dividend payouts that's able to fund this 1,005, even 3,000, right? Every month, right? And how long this investment can stretch really depends on how much you're invested. Okay, again, I say this is just an illustration to show how different things stack up. So it's not something for you to model after. What I'm saying is that it's showing the effect of stacking up. Annuities, most of the time, people would choose between age 65 to 85, somewhere in between, or sometimes a little longer, depending on the expected lifespan. Usually, if the family members tend to live very long, like they have a history of centurions in their family, I do meet a few people like that. Their grandparents are living well into their 90s. Some even at least 2 people I know whose grandparents are over 100. Right? They may have the thought to then plan longer. Okay, and that's where some people will shift Instead of the usual 65 to 85, they may plan to say, oh no, I will still work till 65, so I'm okay. I'm more concerned about the later years, so it could be 70 to 90 or more. Okay. Now then, oftentimes, whatever we do, we will always hold cash in bank. Okay. So if you can work towards annuity, would be the like of CPF Life, right? Because it's monthly income, or in some case, some providers do annual income, but most of them would do annual monthly income. So you can directly supplement CPF Life, okay? And then whatever is in excess here, you could top up with your cash, or you may decide, you know what, I have a gap, I want to work towards closing this gap because I want certainty, okay, right? Then, okay, so which plan is the best? This is a very popular question, right? I would present to you three things for your consideration. First thing, with retirement income, you saw there's always a guaranteed column and there's a non-guaranteed column. Not all providers structure their plans the same. There are some providers where their guarantee is not as high, but their non-guaranteed projections are high. Okay, like I said, projections, you can say is non-guaranteed because they don't know exactly the number that they will declare, depending on how the investment of their fund does. But for those providers that project higher non-guaranteed, usually it's because their mandate for the fund tends to allow them a bit more growth, all right, such that they can declare back higher non-guaranteed. But it may be uncomfortable for some of us because what we are looking for is stability, predictability, and certainty. So it depends on you, okay?
As Janelle has actually just now mentioned, number one, today we are not here to say that, you know, annuities is for everybody. And even though if let's say, for example, you decide annuity, you know, one person, the need for one person is actually different from the other. So I've actually spoken to Janelle and actually Janelle have agreed. Basically, if let's say you're interested to find out more, she's happy to give you a one-to-one consultancy session so that she actually can learn more about your case. And then, of course, propose accordingly to what suits you best. Okay, so you all may be asking, like, you know, why don't I just talk to my agent instead? Why talk to Janelle? So I have actually come across this a few times before, you know. Yes, we can just say that you go back, talk to agent, but I have this one experience which made me change my mind. So this person actually came, you know, tell me that he wanted passive income, he wanted low risk. So I said, yeah, go to your agent and ask for annuities, endowment. Then in the end, he came back, buy some funds, buy some other whatever funds, and I don't know, which is not guaranteed and definitely defeat the purpose. So if Janelle do that to you, tell me, then I make sure I unfriend her. Okay, so she's actually being brief. It's very clear, you know, what product it is about. You won't end up buying something else. That's the whole purpose. Second thing here is this. So we actually talked about this instrument is lower risk. And I say more or less guaranteed. We don't dare to use the word fully guaranteed. Okay, why is that so? Okay, what is the risk for annuity in this case? So there is a possibility that the company can go bankrupt. In 2008, during the subprime crisis, a lot of people were worried that AIG or AIA will go bankrupt. So there is actually this worry, you know, so we cannot assume that, okay, insurance company will always be there forever. So of course, as long as they are there, then your payout is more or less definite. But, you know, there can be cases bankrupt. So how do we actually manage this risk is we should, if our funds allow, we should actually buy annuities via different insurance companies. Okay, so like for example, I told my friend, you know, maybe you should plan 155 to 65 with company X. Then after that, 65 to 85, company Y, so on and so forth. So you should actually try as much as possible to actually have a few different insurance company just to mitigate that risk. Of course, it's a very small risk. A lot of all these insurance companies is governed by MAS, so I can say that risk is very small, but nevertheless, we have to be very safe. You want to do that. So again, why Janelle actually fits the picture well, because she doesn't represent any single company. Okay, she doesn't represent any single company, so she can actually help you to pick and choose. She can actually help you to create a portfolio from different companies. And Janelle, help me up here. If let's say they buy it through you and buy it through the company itself, it's the same cost, right? They are not going to pay you.
No difference. It's a standard.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might as well get someone who is actually able to compare for you, match for you to actually do the job.